aircraft and put a gun on it?
Normally 220 horsepower engine, but engines right up to 450 horsepower, and I believe even bigger than that. Somebody put something about 600 horsepower, and I don't know how it went, but
you know about the jet car one, right?
That is insanity.
Yeah, they've got it between the landing gear. They've actually got a turbojet, and I think it's got a 400 horsepower and a turbojet,
and a lot of stainless steel under the fuselage.
And a very brave pilot.
Has a maximum speed of only about 117 knots, range of about 490 nautical miles, but then again it was never designed to be a long-range touring aeroplane at all. They were also used by the US Navy as the N2S1, and that was known as the Yellow Peril because virtually all of them were painted in that colour, and all of the cadets feared being washed out.
Yeah, wash out at your peril, but it's the usual thing. People, when you're doing your training, you can be washed out at any time, and as you mentioned, the VT-13, the multi-aircraft, also known as the multi-vibrator.
The multi-vibrator.
Because the way it shakes, rattles and rolls.
Yep. On stall, everything shakes and carries on, but nothing like that with this. It's a very solid, very well-handled aeroplane. Andy Bishop is the chief engineer, and tomorrow when he gets the opportunity to fly the one down there, he comes back with a grin that he doesn't wipe off for days.
That'll be right.
I believe Murray Keir, the CEO down there at tomorrow, is here and we was over the Illawarra today. Welcome Murray, and thank you for allowing the Spitfire to come up.
Always good to see that. And Chris was telling me this one's got the Continental W670 engine, which is to a certain day, the 7th of December.
1945. Several hours later, out of the way, looking for the carrier, and the Avenger steadily turned that way through the rest of the Pacific, also through the Atlantic. And the whole one of the very the good thing is the Bombay doors on this aircraft are operational. Tim Dugan's flying, again part of the 4-level state. Just amazing to think that. The aircraft is highly manoeuvrable. They call it the Turkey. It doesn't look very elegant on the ground, but in the air it does very, very well indeed.
Well, the guys do like to display it quite gracefully, but also, as you mentioned, quite manoeuvrable. Another first for this one. I was advised that in New Zealand, the Air Force rugby team travelled from Ohakea to Auckland for a game and back, with most of the guys sitting in the Bombay, hoping like mad that the doors were well closed.
The aircraft has the same engine in it as the B-25 Mitchell twin-engine bomber. Right aircraft, right engine at the right time.
So now, about those arrows, I'm told that each carrier would have a painted on its deck, and in case the carrier that this aircraft belonged to had any arrows would be falling on the deck. And that was how the pilots knew that to bring the trigger. A lot of them took the same, so they didn't get low enough to see the numbers.
And if you have a look at some of the photographs of the task forces that were operating, they could have up to 9 carriers. And you had to return to your base. These particular markings, that broader arrow is the USS Bunker Hill. They had all sorts of different markings, different carrier air groups. They were either diamonds or crosses in different colours on the tail. They had bow ties, basically, on some of them, but they were all there, and that marking was painted on the carrier deck. Unusually, the British used steel decks on their carriers, but the Americans hadn't had the resistance of that steel deck.
And then the wood would burn a lot faster and worse than the steel.
You see the Bombay doors open there. Aircraft aircraft fitted with 2 forward-firing 50 caliber machine guns and 2 30 caliber machine guns, one in the turret and one in that ventral position just behind the bomb bay, just before the end of the tail. It could also carry 2,000 pounds of bombs or a 2,000 pound Mark 13 torpedo.
Now, this particular aircraft, built as a TBM-3E Avenger in 1942, here's the serial number, 53857, held a number of civil registrations in the US and in Canada after the war, before it became Mike Lima as it is now. It was restored by Mike Long at Air Gold Coast and got back into the air in 2005.
5 of them were operated by the Philippine Air Force with the 105th Training Squadron and the 7th Tactical Fighter Squadron. Only 5 remained in service in 2011. And the Philippines actually lost 1 aircraft and never found while undertaking a search and security patrol over the Calayan Islands, or the Spratly Islands, and ownership is disputed between the Philippines and Vietnam.
Well, that's the Spratlys that are also currently very much in the news.
Turning into aircraft carriers.
Correct. Going from a small atoll to a massive operation.
Being, how shall we say, militarised, but not being militarised.
Yes. It's certainly a lightweight aircraft, and can do, despite that, can do +6 -3G, which is pretty impressive. Now, this aircraft does actually have ejection seats in it, but they've been deactivated. And doing the dirty pass with the landing gear and everything hanging out, and then you could hear the beautiful sound of that engine spooling up as he tucked everything away and began its climb out. So, folks, I'm just advised that the Russian roulettes are now at the Meet the Pilots marquee. Once again, that's the one just down near the Haas main hangar. If you follow off the tail of the Neptune, follow where that mad S211 in from the left. Very distinctive, makes it easy to spot when he's got those tip lights on.
It's one thing about the Singaporeans flying their aircraft over Pierce. If you ever get a chance to get over there and see them, they fly with a degree of verve and elan, I was told.
That's a nice way of describing it. As you were saying, the Singaporeans, being such a small island where they do go and practice there and train outside of the Singaporean airspace, they also do a lot of practice on the ground. There's a lot of work going on up at Shoalhaven and up near Townsville, where they're going to be doing a lot of training with the Australian Army. So it's not just the Air Force where the Singaporeans are working here with the Australians.
And there was something about taking some aircraft over to New Zealand as well and basing them at Ahakia.
I believe so. They definitely make the most of every opportunity.
Very easy to maintain, very solid aircraft, and yet very, very light. As I said earlier on, you could see him pushing the aeroplane.
The end of phase display, fantastic riding that jet. It strikes me that very small, he's taken rather soon. cool thing about riding in this jet too is that it's designed primarily as training aircraft. So you're sitting in the rear cockpit, and of course everything in that cockpit is in Russian called Cyrillic. And those pilots out there, all the gates appear to be upside down to what we would be used to. Is that AH?
That artificial horizon, I can't get used to.
It's very strange.
Well, I'm sure that our friends from the Russian roulettes who are just leaving the signing area, big wave of the Russian roulette as they head off. We'll be catching up with them later. I'm sure they're
to employ that turbo window. Over 3,000 of them, and it was the principal jet training aircraft for the Soviet bloc. We also had the Czech Republic, and it was air-to-air missiles, plus a 23mm interlocking hexagonal lumps of concrete, but they all have differential settings, so it is like running over a bed.
phrase designed by geniuses to maintain by peasants, by lunatics. One variant.
Maintained with a hammer and chisel and a bottle of vodka.
We would never say that about our friend Mark Tracy, however. He's putting in a fantastic display here for us. My ride in that plane, we sort of finished up the routine and we thought about step up from a Cessna 172, which is my standard ride.
A bit more safe, a bit more fun. We're going to have to get you to Cessna 172.
Yeah, well, I'm open to offers. Anyway, that's a subject for another day. Folks, if you'd like to find out more about Mark Tracy and get a ride in this jet, in fact, check out their website, jetflight.com.au. Mark likes to say, it's the fastest ride in the country. That's for your ride. That's correct.
That rear seat is absolutely incredible. It's like, how can I put it? It's like sitting on a seat on the top of a power pole. The vision is unlimited.